Welcome back to another episode of the podcast for exceptional people, where we hope to dive into conversations about education, all things past, present, and future. Joining me today is Chanita Jones, teacher, speaker, liberator. Shanita, it has been a wonderful pleasure getting to speak with you, preparing for this episode and missing each other here and there and trying to record in airports and hotel rooms and stuff like that. There's Chanita Jones. Thank you for joining us. What are we talking about today?
They were talking about the intersection of identity and transition into adulthood for personal fulfillment.
I love it. I love it. And thank you for joining us. Have you been enjoying your time here in Baltimore at the CEC conference?
Very much so. I've gone to some great sessions, met some great people. It's been full though. It's like the days
Yes,
are jam packed.
it's been very full. So that's why we kind of open these conversations is to take topics such as yours that you are passionate about, you put a lot of work in, and we try to distill it down into three questions and bring that to our audience in that way. So let's just start off with the first question, which is, what was the original spark? What was the first passion that led you down this specific area of focus?
Oh, Will, you were breaking up, but I think you asked what was my original spark in special education.
What was the original thing that led you down the current path that you're on?
Okay, so my original spark, I don't know if I don't know how old you are, but I grew up in the age where Barney was a popular TV character. And I was a little older by the time Barney came out, but my sister was a avid watcher. She's 5 years younger than me, and I was responsible for her. So we watched a lot of Barney. And Barney had this one song where it was like, special, special. Everyone is special. Everyone in his or her own way. And like, as someone who felt like a little bit of a weirdo, like a little odd, it was like, yes, everyone in each or her own way. And I took that and it lived with me. And it was like always something in the back of my mind that really sat with me because it talked about the uniqueness and individuality. And it talked about how each person was their own. And I don't know, there was just something about that. And so there was more fire that came or more fuel, I guess, to that spark over time. But I have to say that that was the original.
I missed Barney by a few years, but I get it. And I love that your spark really started so young, right? The idea was there. The passion was always there in your heart and in your mind. And then professionally, it just was able to come out. That's really cool. So as you've continued on and spent your career in special education, what are some things that have been confirmed for you about what you thought about inclusion and inclusive practices in special education? And what are some things that you've learned brand new or didn't expect to learn?
Um, so some of the things that were confirmed for me was how someone said it so well actually yesterday. And I was like, oh, I love it. But that there's not an achievement gap, there's an opportunity gap. Because as soon as you give people what they need to learn, grow, evolve, stretch, then they do. That was confirmed for me going into special education. I really loved learning about individualizing things or differentiating things and getting to know people and then leveraging their strengths for success. And so that was confirmed for me in my work as a teacher. It's like, well, let me try this for something that I have learned is that as much as effort that we put into special ed as law and creating IEPs and a lot of those things, sometimes it becomes more about compliance and paperwork than implementation and execution. And that was a hard pill to swallow. So, there's a balance.
It is. It's often easy to forget that we are in a business. Education is a business, and there are a lot of bureaucratic things that become a part of it, especially in IDEA in that world in special education. Um, so yeah, sometimes that is troubling to hear, but I love that your focus still is on these are human beings, and each human being comes to us with their own set of individual, unique identities and needs, and that's where we need to start. So it's hard to imagine that there would be skeptics for the work that you do and for the work that everybody here at CEC does. If you were met with a panel of skeptics, what would be the first argument or what would be the first point you make to them to say, no, what we're doing is incredible and you need to get on board?
Yeah. So because my area of focus and my interest is identity and teaching people how to have greater self-awareness, greater self-determination, greater self-discipline, which I all smash together and call that self-love. I really like to leverage the wisdom that has come before. So I love this very poignant quote from Aristotle where he says that the foundation for all wisdom is wisdom of self. Or actually, I wrote it down so that I wouldn't wouldn't botch it this time.
I think you said it better than Aristotle might have.
Well, then there it is, right? But it's like, oh, here it is. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And so, what I love about that, and what I would say to people is, if society, right, we're all here to be in society. If society is built by individuals, then the foundation of individuals is to know themselves so that they know what they can give to society, so that they know that their purpose. When any of us are in positions that we can't serve, that don't match our strengths, our gifts, our passions, then we're going to do it haphazardly, which is why we have such high turnover in careers and why we have so many challenges with mental health in society right now. So that's why it's important. And that's what I would say, just so
I love it. And like I said, I don't know that I want to meet the person that says you shouldn't bring your identity with you to your classroom. You shouldn't bring your identity with you to learning, to your job, to your profession, to your relationships. It is who we are and it shapes what we do. And I think it makes your work difficult too, right? Because when you do care about every individual, you have to pour into every individual. And so I applaud you for the work that you do, Shanita. And what is it that you hope to leave Baltimore with? Or what is it you hope people who engage with you here in Baltimore, what is it you hope that they leave with?
When I had my session yesterday, the thing that I hoped people would get is to look at themselves and unpack what unintended biases we might be projecting in our classrooms about ableism, about racism, about different forms of judgments, about body types, like identity is ageism, even is some of the things that I've heard. So I think the biggest takeaway is look at yourself and look at how your lens might be impacting the students that you serve, but then also invite your students to get to know themselves better. Invite them to say who they are, to define themselves, and to really spend some time in that. We don't spend enough time asking them to give definitions for themselves and to set goals for themselves and to put intentions and just invite them to imagine what success means to them. No, they may not be getting A's all the time, but what does success mean for them? Maybe that's not their definition of success, and really spend time with that.
That's right. I used to tell my kids, unfortunately, a part of my job is discipline, right? And one of the things that I tell my kids all the time is, look, you're not learning, you're not doing behavioral corrections, and you're not learning rules, and you're not doing school for me, you're doing it for you. I just happen to be the one here to keep you between the guidelines. And so I love hearing that philosophy and your approach as well. Shanita, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been great talking to you.
I wish you the best, safe travels home from Baltimore, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Yes,
Awesome. Thanks.
peace.